Well, hello. I wish I would have had some participants, but I still want to go ahead and record this because I feel as though you'll have an opportunity to watch it at another point in time. So originally, I had a bit of a flow that I wanted to take the meeting through, and that was going to be, of course, introductions, people letting us know where they're at in either the country or internationally. I know we do have a couple of international people in the group, and just kind of going over what they'd like to get out of the conversation. And hopefully, people had an opportunity to look over the workbook and just find out what worked for them, what helped them, and at that point. So, um, of course, I wanted to share in the workbook the table of contents and what I had wanted to go over. Of course, there's a lot of different sections within the workbook, but the superpower that I wanted to concentrate was on the core values section and just getting like a personal definition of what a person, what each person in the group might, maybe just one core value that they saw and having a personal definition for that. I also wanted to cover intention and how you would go about setting intentions and then also evaluating that intention and um, looking for the evidence and the results of that intention. So going back to that, um, I wanted to start out by doing the breathing exercise. Let me go back to that so that you can see that. Sorry. There's a breathing exercise on here, which is called the 4-7-8. And I just kind of wanted to start meeting with that so that people could just kind of decompress. You had a full week and whatever you were doing, I'm sure you were doing a lot. As women, we tend to multitask. So in that particular section, uh, it's a 3-minute exercise in which you take the time to put your tongue on top of your mouth and you breathe in 4, hold for 7, and breathe out for 8. And you can just kind of feel yourself relaxing. Hold for 7, breathe out for 8. One more time. And I feel a little bit better. You're in the present moment. And then just kind of going over why we meditate. We meditate to quiet our mind, not of all thought, but of circular thinking. We rest from examining existing issues. So if you've got rent on your mind or mortgage payment or what groceries you need to do or of course a million other things that you may have on your mind, is just a chance to relax from examining those, trying to solve those problems, just giving your mind a break. And when we find relief from those things, we align with our feelings, always being mindful of our feelings, which will lead us to make authentic choices based on our desires, right? And then we free ourselves from the expectations of others and social pressures, which was one of the things. I'll get to that in a moment. But like I said, that was kind of where I wanted to begin, making sure that we got to be in the present moment and that each person was taking a moment to understand why we do that, why we meditate, and why you want to try and find time to do that. And probably the best time to do meditation is in the morning when you first awake, before you move, before you jump out of the bed, and just give yourself a moment to align with your body, to think about how you feel, not about what was going on yesterday or picking up those thoughts or picking up a list of all the stuff that you got to get done, but just a couple of minutes in the morning where you get to just be. Okay. So from there, I wanted to kind of, like I said, move into the core values section. And I did have my own example. Um, of course, on here I've listed 5, but I just wanted to provide one because just to get kind of things rolling and started for people. And my core value for for me, the one that I picked out is most important to me is freedom. And for me, my personal definition of freedom is the following. Freedom for me is clarity on how I choose to spend my time. Um, Creating time to explore my interests and doing things I genuinely enjoy doing. Deciding if it's worth my effort or turning away from that activity. Deciding my own priorities and developing my own path. So, I mean, your your core value can be as expansive and exhaustive as you want. It could be short. It doesn't matter. You just need to give yourself a moment to think about the things that are important to you and how they apply personally to you. You owe it to yourself to do that. And I hope that you've had an opportunity to do that at some point in your life. If not, just now. I mean, that's what this time is for. That's why we're creating the space to do that. And I think one of the other things that, of course, there would have been multiple entries, multiple chances for people to maybe um, state a core value. Maybe they haven't had an opportunity to evaluate it, to just, they know that that's important to them, but maybe the group would have been able to help them expand on that. And I think that would be very beneficial. This is a safe space. Like I said, I hope that at some point everyone will feel free to express themselves completely. We're a small group. We're growing slowly, but um, I do appreciate, I see that people are coming forward with their ideas, and I appreciate that. That lends to the group. Okay, so the other thing that I had on there was setting intentions. So let me go back to the workbook and we'll go and take a look. And so one of the big things for me, as far as, and which is why it's listed, setting an intention requires focus. And it's not just focused on what you don't want, because you're pretty much always aware of what you don't want. And that's easy for people to get into a conversation about. But focusing on what you do want, that's where the intention setting comes in. I know that I want this. You need to cultivate a space where you can get clear on exactly what it is that you want. And then you set that intention by asking, what does that look like? What do I have to let go of to see this thing come to me? Can I trust the universe to handle that? Or can I trust me to take my hands off of it long enough to start to see evidence of those things showing up in my life? And so I had also an example to probably get the group rolling on setting their intentions, and just having maybe 1 or 2 people give an example of an intention now, and to me to work through it, because I have done treatment planning in the past. I think that one of the skill sets that I learned was about planning behavior modification. So I think that this works in tandem with setting intentions. So one of my intentions was detaching from the approval of others, which I feel like, just as people in general, and maybe more as a woman more specifically, we get hung up on how other people perceive us, how our children perceive us, how the men in our lives perceive us, family members. I mean, I think that we make a lot of decisions based on those things. So one of my goals or my intention would be for me to detach from the approval of others, which would give me what it would lend to my freedom, which is a core value of mine, right? So one of the barriers, well, my objective, which is like a smaller scaled down behavior that might need to occur in order for me to achieve that goal, would be making decisions with my own best interest in mind. Okay, because I know a lot of times you have to consider, of course, if you have children, or you have a husband, you can't just go willy-nilly going around doing things. But when you're making decisions, are you including yourself, and how is that going to make you feel, and what is that going to do to you? Is that going to be a detriment? So those are just things to consider when you're making these decisions, right? So one of the barriers for me personally, for making decisions that are in my own best interest, which leads to my goal of detaching from the approval of others, which is a part of my core value of being free, is wanting to be liked. So that's a barrier, has been a barrier in the past for me. And since I'm aware of that now, I work toward um, making myself a priority, right? Because for a long time, I wanted to be liked so bad that I made sure that other people felt comfortable regardless of how I felt. So just knowing the barrier helps me to move closer to my objective, and then to my goal, and ultimately my core value. So some of the action steps, which this is all broken down by goal, then objective, then the barrier to that objective and goal, and then the action steps that I could take to overcome my barrier, which would be being transparent, letting people know where I'm coming from, so that maybe they just don't think this decision is against them, but ultimately it's about me. And as long as I remain transparent, what can you say? I mean, you may not like it, but you ultimately have to understand that I'm being upfront about where I'm coming from. Allowing others the freedom to disagree with you. If they don't agree with your decision, you have to be okay with that too, because why? They have their own opinions, they have their own belief system, and ultimately they're looking out for their best interest, hopefully. Or hope, it might be about manipulation, but at that point you have to make a judgment. But this is number 2 of my action steps. And then the third action step that I had was being mindful of the self-talk that I have and the behavior that I'm displaying. Does my behavior line up with me saying that I want to put myself, my best interest at heart, and that I'm seeking to make decisions that are with me in mind, and detaching from the approval of others? What is my self-talk telling me? Because ultimately what I'm telling myself is going to have an impact on my behavior. So if I'm telling myself these things are important for me, then, I'm sorry. If I'm telling myself that these things are important to me and have my best interest in mind, then moving forward on it and telling myself those things consistently will help me to make sure that my behavior aligns with myself. And you have to be monitoring yourself, because you've probably spent a lot of years telling yourself that it doesn't matter, or that you could just let this go for a while, or you can put yourself on the back burner, it's not going to matter, or it won't hurt for a little while. No, if not now, then when? So, and my final one was not apologizing for the decisions that serve my highest self. So I'm a big sorry person. I'm sorry, I'm sorry if that made you feel a certain. As long as I'm not rude or being disruptive to people, I just feel like I have just as much right as they do for happiness. So you don't apologize when you're making decisions not to intentionally hurting someone. That if it's about really trying to honor yourself, then there should be no apology needed. So those are the 4 aspects that I feel like, when you talk about getting specific after you're setting your intentions and monitoring your intentions. You have your goal based on, that's your intention, right? And then you have your objective and your barriers. Of course, there's probably going to be more than, one barrier. But if you can break those things down, it makes it easier for you to see it in action when you're doing it. And finally, I had results, uh, which is what you'll be doing to kind of say, a life unexamined is what? I mean, you're just going along and you're not really reflecting on the things that you're doing. Maybe that's why you're repeating a lot of things in life, why you're seeing the same types of things occurring in your life, because you're not evaluating where you are in the equation, right? Okay, so behavior that consistently aligns with your overall well being. And it illustrates, and your behavior should illustrate to others that their behavior will not be controlled by you to make you feel better, right? So it kind of lets people off the hook as well. If you're busy worrying about how to support your own happiness, then you're not making it about somebody else supporting your happiness, which allows you to just love them or like them or be in relationship with them without trying to get something out of them. And believe it or not, people feel that agenda. And finally, like I said, we're responsible for our own happiness at the end of the day. You need to determine that. And maybe you won't ask and be so demanding of others if that's you, when you determine that it's you. Ultimately, it's you who is going to make sure that you're happy. So, yeah, I mean, I really would have liked to been able to interact and have a collaboration or whatever, but this information still needed to get out. I still wanted to be able to have an opportunity to share this, and I am recording it. And for those of you who were on the email list, I'll probably still send the meeting, and excuse me, because I feel like it's an important it's important. And I mean, you could get this information wherever, I'm sure if you dug around or whatever, people are busy. And I enjoy researching. This has been a big part of my life for a lot of years. And I have seen the growth and development in my own life. I've experienced the abundance. And I just want to be, I just want to be of value. So hope you get an opportunity to watch the video, and maybe next time when we schedule something, we'll have an opportunity to maybe go over some more pages of the workbook, or we'll find other interactive collaborations. Thank you, guys.